everything is currently kicking off as we speak over at Reform in a massive way. So, the story is just breaking, I think, or within the hour. So I'll explain about that, and then we can all chitty chat through what's happened. But for any of our overseas audience, literally it's just happening. So what you'll see here, New Zealand's here, Philadelphia, Florida, exactly. So if you're with us in the Katie's Arms, your pub online, from overseas, welcome, welcome, welcome. And you'll forgive us if we go straight into the weeds of what's going on right now here. I know it's normally pub night, and pub night is usually just about having a laugh at me, but this kind of does need talking about. So what I'll do is just briefly explain what I think has just gone on. Anyone here, please correct me, because you may have read more than I've read. So Reform, if we phrase it up, all Reform had to do, I think, was sit tight, keep performing, keep improving the party, keep growing the party, get some more solid candidates. And I believe they would have won the next election. And I believe they could have forced an election much sooner than 2029. So that's just the backdrop to what I think was going to happen, is that within the next few years, they could have pushed it such that Reform would have taken either power or certainly have more MPs than most other parties. Instead, what's happened is that Rupert Lowe, who's the MP for Great Yarmouth, I want to say, anyone correct me here if anything I say is incorrect or you know better. So a gentleman, Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe is a MP for Reform, one of the 5 MPs for Reform. And yesterday, I believe it was, he was speaking in an article online. Do correct me or do let people know. I'm just going to have a quick drink because it's kind of big stuff going on right now. Hold on. So I don't know what paper it was. Yes, Great Yarmouth, thank you. MP for Great Yarmouth. Rupert Lowe went to a newspaper with an interview, and he was talking about, it's obviously asked, will Nigel be Prime Minister one day? Will he be a great PM? And I guess Rupert was honest and said, well, I guess a lot would have to change there. I'm paraphrasing. He has a bit of a messiah complex. The word messiah was certainly used. And we need to move from a protest party that's driven by one guy to a political party where I guess leadership is shared, power is shared, which is something that has been levelled at Reform since its inception. And when Ben Habib, a fine gentleman who was absolutely, in my understanding, crucial to Reform, when he was kicked out of the party for suggesting what seems to be a similar thing, which is the party has to become a party. It can't be the Nigel toy. It can't just be about Nigel. So then Ben Habib was kicked out. So what's happened now is Rupert said, well, Nigel has a bit of a messiah complex. The party has to grow up if we're going to take power, and we can't just be a little protest party running around behind Nigel. That obviously did not go down well with a very sensitive Nigel Farage. And that's one thing, right? We all have arguments, we all have fights. I've had huge fights at work, in my workplaces over the decades. I've been fired, as you know, probably from every job I've ever had, but without exception, there have been times in jobs where I've gone in, the door has been closed, both of us, whoever's fighting, has a proper fight, has it out, agrees the way forward, and out the door you go. That's how men deal with issues. In this case, what appears to have happened is that Nigel and his chairman, Zia Yusuf, the Muslim chairman, who was brought in because he's loaded, have presumably gone into a room and decided, we will take a large knife and we will stab Rupert to death. I mean, in the back. Apparently that's what's gone on. Zia Yusuf, the chairman, the Muslim chairman, has reported Rupert Lowe to the police for a workplace incident. Presumably there was some kind of row at work. So Zia allegedly has gone to the police. That's in the reform statement. Katie, you've always been right about Farage and GB News. Do you know, there's so many things I would much, much rather not have been right about. But thank you. I've always tried to hold what I knew about Farage, and I've always tried to be supportive whilst being honest. And that's been a tricky line. Let's go back to the story. So Zia apparently goes to the police and files a criminal complaint about Rupert Lowe, the MP for Reform, who came out and criticised Nigel, but didn't really I wouldn't call it criticism. If someone said, Katie's got a messiah complex and she needs to share a bit more, lovely Mark would say that about me. Lovely Mark, and probably the team on the road would say, you know what, she's a control freak and she gets involved in stuff that she really shouldn't. And she doesn't like it if not everyone's not doing things that she wants them to do. That would be, I think, really fair. Like, there's things you can label as criticism, but if it's just a fair observation, because it's the same observation that Ben Habib has, and the same observation I had back in UKIP, and the same observation I had with the way that Nigel treated people who were very talented. Not only that, but they have found 2 ladies, allegedly, who have made work office complaints about being bullied by Rupert Lowe. They've just come out now. So they have removed the whip from Rupert Lowe MP. Somebody might be able to help me here. Rupert has been elected. Zia is parachuted in due to his money. So I think what's important is I talk less, isn't it? And that you, that you have your comments heard. Lovely, funny Katie. I don't know if I'm being very funny right now. So Zia has stabbed Rupert Lowe hard by going to the police. The 2 ladies' complaints is now bullying. So that has to be formally investigated. And they've brought in a KC, because of course lawyers really help everything, don't they? You know, a KC is really going to assist to investigate. Lee Anderson is siding with Nigel and Zia. Rupert was elected. Zia was brought in for his money. So there you go. Totally a fair point. Zia is where he is because of his cash, as with so many people that are near Nigel or get access to Nigel, or when Nigel's on a stage somewhere, it's because there's cash involved. Rupert Lowe, just to cite something that is a fact, doesn't even take his MP salary. My understanding, and Great Yarmouth will be able to correct me here, Rupert Lowe gives his salary away to charities in Great Yarmouth. I think that's correct. KC, King's Counsel. So it used to be QC, Queen's Counsel. So the highest lawyers in the land. In order to make this story, watertight, Lee Anderson says, we've brought in, one of the highest lawyers in the land to investigate this very serious matter of Rupert Lowe bullying females and also not assaulting, but whatever, workplace, whatever phrase bloody Zia Yusuf used. In a moment, when I finished stating facts as I know them, I have a few things to say. That's when the gloves come off. But for the moment, for everybody, I wanted to try and recap facts as I could. Do you actually read the comments or just speak at the camera? Well, I hope that helps answer your question, given I just read your comment. So mostly it's me speaking at the camera, and then often I try and read a few comments. I think Rupert is a man of integrity. I like him. And also screw you. Because if you were being facetious, I just caught you out. So, King's Counsel, barrister, basically. Great. Allegedly, the KC has found no evidence. Now, this is a great point here. Elon prefers Rupert. Now, I would argue, and I think many of you might, this is the end of Farage. Hey from Qatar. Oh, hi Qatar. Well done on all your oil and gas. Well done. I would argue that the seeds of this were sown by Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk, as he would acknowledge, is acutely autistic, which is also why he's a genius, which is also why I argue all the time, all the best of us are weird. The less you fit in to society, in any regard, I think the better it is. All we need to do is find out what your magic is, right? So if you're a mum and you think your kid's massively weird, I don't think that's the case. I think living with them day to day can be bloody annoying. But if you find their magic, that's the most special people. All the best of us are weird. I'm a freak, I know. Always have been, in lots of ways. We won't go there. There's not the point. So Elon, because he's acutely weird, was able to sense in the way that Elon can. He can distill the fact of the thing so brilliantly from across the pond. He said, Nigel's not the guy. Nigel's not the guy. And honestly, from inside Trump's inner circle, Trump loved Farage. Farage was like embedded into the Trump inner circle. For Elon to say that, that's because he's able to think for himself. He doesn't think to please anyone else because he's Elon. He doesn't have that faculty. He said, Nigel's not the guy. And that was really the moment. It's not about this. I don't think it's even about what was said by Rupert to the newspaper. This is all about Elon Musk saying, Nigel is not the guy. Nigel hasn't got what it takes. This is all because of what Elon said. Because it's all been sitting there. Nigel's had his confidence really kind of given a hard shake by Elon. Elon is Trump's, closest ally now. And Nigel hasn't gotten over that. And that's why it's being taken out of Rupert. That's my take on it. And it's a take that no one's really got to yet, which is all of this came about because Elon could smell or observe or even sense that Nigel's not the guy. All of that, right? Rupert is the guy. I'm the one. Maybe in time, but as you notice from politics, I may be an arsehole, but damn, I am not that big an arsehole. And I will never, I mean, many of you will understand, I will never tell something that I don't believe, not at any cost. It has cost me everything I ever owned, everything I ever had, even when I could have made problems go away from myself. My law case brought against me, I could have got out of it by paying 30,000 in the end to a refugee charity. I wouldn't, because I will not support refugees, because refugees are to the detriment of ordinary British people. That's never been spoken about before, but I will not. And so that's the issue there. Okay, let's move along. So the Elon thing is the basis of all this falling out. Nigel lost confidence in himself. And so he sent Zia Yusuf to deal the knife into the back of the guy that he saw taking his crown. I mean, it is very Roman. It is very gladiatorial, except that, Nigel Farage couldn't fucking punch his own reflection, which he looks at often enough. A few other things that aren't being observed just now is how many more parties would Nigel like to have? Open question. Because he had the UKIP party and then he completely detonated that. He absolutely that had 40% at one point, let's remember. He absolutely ripped UKIP apart. He tore it apart because he threw his toys out the pram. He wasn't going to allow Tommy Robinson anywhere near it. He absolutely sabotaged Gerard Batten, one of the absolute loveliest men, always too good for politics, absolute class individual who I'm still in contact with. And then he moved on to the Brexit Party. The Brexit Party was the new toy. Come over from UKIP, come over. And everyone went over from UKIP. Come to Brexit, be around me, be around my sunshine. Look, it's the Brexit Party. And what happened with the Brexit Party? Was Nigel's vehicle for maximum exposure, Nigel's vehicle for maximum publicity for Nigel, maximum eyeballs on Nigel. Nigel's the hero of the people, and believe me, he got Brexit, and that was an uplift for this country, and, all for that. And then, now Brexit's not useful, so we'll sell that out to the Conservatives. I'll take what I took as my back campaign for just dissolving it. People that were going to stand for me, thought they were my candidates, learned secondhand that the party didn't exist anymore. You were no longer candidates because I pulled you. I mean, people out there will know that I'm speaking truth because this happened to actual candidates who learnt second or third hand that they weren't actually running anymore because Nigel sold them out. I'm not criticising Nigel at this point. I am trying to put facts. So UKIP, don't want to play with that anymore. Brexit Party, all about me. It's Nigel's party. Brexit Party, I control everything. Sold out the people that were standing for me. Form Reform. Reform Party, all about me. Oh, look, now I've got Lee, now I've got Richard Tice, I've got Ben Habib. Oh, lovely Ben, for example, running the show, keeping Reform going. I would argue Richard Tice, for all that he doesn't really have, much between the ears, he kept it going. He was running the show in the best way that he could, even though the media just wanted Nigel. And then along comes Nigel, decides, right, okay, I'll quit my GB News contract now. I'll take over. Boom, 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 it's my party.